Power. Everyone craves it. Everyone secretly kneels before it. Yet few ever master it. Why? Because most people play the game of life with illusions, with kindness, with honesty, with morality. But in the shadows, the true players, the architects of destiny, use a different rulebook. This is not the polished version of power, not the softened lessons you've read in books. This is the fire-forged manual, sharpened by centuries of conquest, betrayal, and domination. This is Machiavelli's spirit poured into the 48 laws of power, stripped of mercy, stripped of naivety, and weaponized for one purpose only: to dominate. Today, we begin part 1 of this 6-part journey. If you listen, truly listen, you will never see human interaction the same again. These laws are not meant to make you good. They are not meant to make you loved. They are meant to make you feared, respected, and untouchable. Let's step into the ruthless foundations of power. The first law is simple, but it is the foundation of all manipulation. Never outshine the master. Humans are fragile creatures, slaves to their egos. If you shine too brightly in the presence of someone above you, their pride will turn into a blade aimed at your throat. History is littered with examples: brilliant advisors, cunning generals, ambitious princes, all destroyed not because of their failures, but because they made their masters feel small. Think of Cesare Borgia, one of Machiavelli's great inspirations. He was feared and admired, yet he always gave his father, Pope Alexander VI, the spotlight. Cesare understood that his rise was only possible if he made the master feel secure. The moment you make someone in power feel weak, your days are numbered. Power demands subtlety. Hide your brilliance in shadows. Feed the ego of those above you, and they will lift you higher. Outshine them, and you will be cut down before your prime. The second law is brutal but true. Never put too much trust in friends. Friends betray out of envy, familiarity, and weakness. They feel entitled. They feel equal, and in their comfort, they stab you when you least expect it. An enemy, however, is more reliable because their hatred makes them predictable. Machiavelli himself wrote, "He who builds on the people builds on mud. Friends are mud. They shift, they crumble, they dissolve when tested. But enemies can be transformed into the strongest allies because their loyalty comes not from love, but from necessity. When you conquer an enemy and offer them a place at your table, they will serve harder than any friend, desperate to prove themselves. Power is not about comfort, it is about leverage. Friends give you comfort, enemies give you control. The third law is the art of shadows. Conceal your intentions. Nothing destroys power faster than transparency. If people know your plan, they can counter it. If they can predict your move, they can stop you. Therefore, cloak your strategy in layers of misdirection. Let others think they understand you. Let them believe they can read your desires, your goals. Meanwhile, you move in silence. A predictable man is powerless. An unpredictable man terrifies everyone. Machiavelli admired rulers who could play this game. Leaders who said one thing but meant another. Kings who pretended to seek peace while secretly preparing for war. Princes who promised mercy while planning executions. Concealment is not weakness. Concealment is the camouflage of a predator. Words are weapons, but the more you use them, the duller they become. The fourth law: always say less than necessary. The more you speak, the more you reveal. The more you reveal, the easier you are to disarm. Silence, on the other hand, makes people uncomfortable. It makes them wonder what you're thinking, what you're hiding, what you're planning, and in that uncertainty lies your power. When you master silence, every word you do speak becomes a blade, cold, precise, impossible to ignore. Those who speak endlessly dilute their power. Those who measure their words command attention. Reputation is the armor of power. It precedes you, it protects you, it terrifies your enemies before you even move. Machiavelli knew that reputation was more powerful than armies. A feared reputation can defeat enemies without a battle. A ruined reputation can destroy you even if you still have wealth, soldiers, or influence. Guard it, protect it, never allow it to be stained, and if necessary, destroy the reputation of others. Once their name is dragged through the mud, their power collapses. Your reputation is your shadow, and in the game of power, shadows rule before light ever does. The final law for today's foundation: court attention at all costs. Power is visibility. If no one sees you, you do not exist. To dominate, you must command the gaze of others. Attention is the currency of control. This does not mean you beg for recognition. No, it means you make your presence impossible to ignore. Through bold actions, through calculated drama, through fear or fascination, you force the world to turn toward you. Machiavelli observed that rulers who remained in shadows faded into irrelevance. But those who made themselves spectacles, whether feared or admired, secured their place in history. Attention is oxygen. Without it, your power suffocates. With it, you become immortal. These first 6 laws form the foundation of Machiavellian power: control of ego, mastery of enemies, silence, reputation, and visibility. They are not lessons in kindness, nor in morality. They are weapons, cold, sharp, and designed for war. We are only at the beginning. This is just the opening strike in a 6-part arsenal. What comes next will plunge deeper into the labyrinth of manipulation, seduction, and domination. You are no longer reading about power. You are stepping into its fire. Prepare yourself. You accepted the first lesson. Good. You absorbed the foundations: concealment, silence, reputation, presence. Now we move from foundation to armory. These are the laws that turn observation into action, patience into advantage, time into a weapon. They teach you how to bend events to your will, how to steer people like currents, softly, invisibly, and without leaving a footprint. This part is called the weapons of manipulation. Listen closely. These are not abstract ideas. They are tools. Learn them, practice them, use them without remorse. Time is not neutral. Time is opinion, and whoever controls the tempo writes the story. Impatience is a liability. Those who rush are visible targets. The desperate throw themselves at opportunity and become predictable. The patient traps the reckless. Let others hurry and commit mistakes. Let them reveal their hands before you ever move. Learn to wait like a predator waits, by water still, almost bored, and then strike when the moment is perfect. But mastering time is not always waiting. It's also creating tempo. Delay at strategic moments to build pressure. Push forward when everyone has lowered their guard. Make timing your language. Your pauses say as much as your moves. A well-timed silence humiliates. A delayed favor becomes precious. Power is rhythm. Become metronome, not drummer. People think they are complicated. They are not. They are moved by a few simple strings: pride, fear, desire, guilt. Find the string, tug it, and they dance. Study people like an anatomist studies bones. Your interest should be clinical, not cruel for cruelty's sake, but purposeful. Watch what they defend most fiercely. Listen for what they avoid. Note where they blush, where they lose control. Those are your entry points. And while you catalog others' soft spots, bury your own. Let curiosity find nothing. Create myths about yourself. If your enemies cannot find a seam, they cannot tear you open. Close your windows. Open no doors. Vulnerability is leverage for others. Don't give it to them. People worship history. They clutch their origin stories. But memory is a chain, and chains bind you. If your past limits the future you crave, sever it. Reinvent the narrative around you. Rewrite the script slowly and convincingly until even your critics accept the new story. Rebranding is warfare disguised as theater. Change your name, your habit, your circle. Manufacture new alliances. Perform a believable metamorphosis. Erasure is a form of power. Embrace it. The fewer anchors you carry, the freer you become. The new you is a weapon, polished, unfamiliar, and dangerous. Guilt is psychological shackling. Once you make someone feel indebted or ashamed, they will bend their life around your needs. But use guilt sparingly and surgically. Turn someone's past failure into a leash. Remind them of opportunities you granted, of favors that saved them. Confession is a key. Get them to reveal their mistakes, then keep the key. When people want forgiveness, they will repay it with loyalty. And remember, never wear the chains you forge for others. Self-reproach kills momentum. Decisive men do not apologize for the steps they take to win. Use guilt as a tether for others. For yourself, be mercilessly forward-looking. Where others panic, you must plan. Disorder is fertile ground for those who know how to plant themselves in the gap. Create controlled chaos when needed. Rumors, small crises, conflicting information. As the crowd scrambles for anchors, appear with the cure. The hero in chaos is never questioned. If you can manufacture a problem and then offer the solution, your influence becomes indispensable. But be careful. Chaos consumes the careless. Always build exits, contingency stories, scapegoats. Use the storm, but do not get wet. Let others flounder. Be the lifeboat you show them when they beg. Scarcity of stability makes you valuable by default. Emotional speech is a window. Through it, others see you. Every raw reaction teaches your enemies how to wound you. Practice the art of measured response. If provoked, make your mouth a vault. Let others perform their drama. You remain the still center. Anger becomes a mask for the weak. Composure becomes a blade for the strong. When you must speak, make each sentence deliberate, short, and memorably framed. Emotion corrodes strategy. Replace immediate feeling with delayed calculus. Emotion is the fuel of your competitors. Strategy is your engine. Keep the engine cold, efficient, and always in control. Dependency is the architecture of power. Make others rely on you so completely that they can't imagine life without you. Provide what they cannot procure themselves: access, safety, influence, identity. Shape their routines, their favors, their livelihoods. Once they depend on you, subtly remove their alternatives. Close doors, manipulate markets, cultivate scarcity of options. When people see only one path, they fall into line. Then, if necessary, remove hope. Not cruelty for its own sake, but as a calibration. A dependent follower with hope plots escape. A dependent follower without hope seeks your permission. Power is the art of engineered necessity. Make them need you, and they will never leave. Knowledge is contagious. Skills multiply. Secrets leak. If you give away the method, you arm a future competitor. When you mentor, give enough to bind, not enough to liberate. Let success be a miracle in their eyes, repeatable only through your touch. Provide outcomes, not tutorials. Reward admiration, punish curiosity. Your techniques should be proprietary, not public domain. The true master is the one with the map others cannot read. Keep the map secret. Leave them dependent on your hand to navigate. You now hold half the armory: timing, silence, narrative control, engineered dependency, and the dangerous mathematics of chaos. These are not moral positions. They are practical ones. They require restraint and craft. They demand that you think like a strategist, not like a sympathizer. Tomorrow, we will sharpen these tools into weapons. Seduction that looks like kindness, sabotage that looks like accident, and reputations rebuilt as traps. When you are ready, the next part dives deeper into psychological warfare, the art of getting others to act as you wish while they believe they chose it themselves. Stand still. Remember what you heard. Practice quietly. Power is patient, but it notices the prepared. Power is earned in silence and sealed in motion. You've learned to hide, to wait, to break people with absence. Now we teach you how to make people move for you, how to seduce their will, sabotage their strengths, and guide entire rooms like an invisible hand. This part is about conversion, turning attention into obedience, suspicion into devotion, chaos into an engineered harvest. Welcome to Seduction and Sabotage. Half measures are the luxury of the weak. If you attack and leave a scaffold standing, your enemy will rebuild on it and remember the pain. When you decide to remove a threat, remove it with precision and finality. Make the defeat irreversible. Burn the bridges, erase the names, ensure no ember remains to spark revenge. This is ruthless, yes, but it's efficient. A finished enemy cannot form a coalition. A buried rival cannot return. Power requires finality. If you lack the will to end it, then stay your hand. Indecision invites cycles of retaliation. Decisiveness ends them. People crave patterns. Give them none. Alternate warmth with coldness, praise with silence, presence with absence. This unpredictability breaks the models they use to predict you. Confusion is a lever. When others cannot forecast your actions, they cannot coordinate against you. Be a mirror that tells different stories depending on who looks. Celebrate a friend openly, then privately question their loyalty. Appear generous in public, stingy in private. The goal is not to be cruel, but to be unreadable. If your enemies cannot map you, they can't attack you. Visibility without comprehension is a form of worship. Let them watch your gestures, admire your rhetoric, obsess over your image, but let them fail to decode your engine. People will put in the labor of attention and never reach you. Their energy will feed your legend. Curiosity creates energy. Leave them wanting. Announce a move, then do nothing. Smile when accused. Speak in riddles and vanish. When they spend their resources trying to understand you, they have none left for resistance. If they know your supply lines, your allies, your finances, your levers, they know how to cut you. Conceal where your strength comes from. Let credit fall to fate, charisma, luck. Give vague answers when asked. Convert direct questions into compliments for those who ask. Mystery acts as armor. If everyone believes your power is elemental born of genius, destiny, or moral superiority, they won't attempt to dismantle it. The fewer the traceable threads, the fewer the attacks that will find them. You don't always need to strike. Sometimes, the best strategy is to stoke the fire and step away. Feed their vanity. Inflate their sense of inevitability. Place bait that confirms their worst tendencies. Watch rivalry do the rest. History loves irony. The man who believed himself invincible often becomes his own architect of ruin. Your role is to make the stage and leave them to improvise their collapse. There is elegance in waiting while others manufacture their downfall. When the world demands a hard decision, do not cave to sentiment. Softness is expensive in power games. People who hesitate for pity or loyalty create opportunities for enemies to exploit. If sacrifice secures your position, sacrifice with clarity. Coldness does not mean cruelty for its own sake. It means choosing the outcome that secures dominance. When stakes are high, be clinical. Emotion is for later. Efficiency is now. Bridges let anyone cross. Walls force approach on your terms. Create psychological and structural barriers that keep your inner workings inaccessible. Limit meetings. Curate entrances. Channel interactions through controlled audiences. Distance converts admiration into reverence. When you are too accessible, you become familiar, and familiarity breeds contempt. Build walls that require petition, that demand permission to pass. Authority grows where access dwindles. Freedom is an illusion when you craft the options. Present two doors that both lead to your desired destination. People resist commands, but love choice. Use that love. Frame decisions as their idea. Let them feel autonomy while you shepherd the outcome. This technique is not deception. When executed elegantly, it's navigation. You deliver the direction, they deliver the consent. Their voluntary steps feel righteous to them and irreversible to you. Be the architect of crises you can resolve. Small, contained fires make you essential when you serve as their extinguisher. Manufacture tension that only you can solve. When people are scared, they will cling to your hand. But never let the fire burn beyond your control. Keep an exit strategy, scapegoats, and a narrative that positions you as the hero. Rescue, then be thanked. The gratitude of those you saved is a weapon that lasts far longer than momentary praise. Revealing the staircase reveals the end. Offer glimpses, not blueprints. Let allies see the next step, enough to keep them invested. But hide the entire architecture. Complexity confuses would-be saboteurs. Partial truths are levers. Full truths are liability. Even trusted partners need only the piece of the map that serves them. Keep the master plan in a vault. If asked, smile and say, "Trust me." The less they know, the more dependent they become. Seduction and sabotage are surgical. They require timing, restraint, and a beautiful cruelty. The willingness to make hard decisions that other people cannot. You will cultivate desire, engineer missteps, and move the crowd like pieces on a board. These laws are efficient and elegant, dangerous when mastered. Next, we will transform these strategies into emotional architecture. The art of making people love you enough to betray themselves, and the art of making institutions crumble from within. Prepare your voice, sharpen your patience, and practice the small manipulations that yield large empires. You are learning to command without lifting a sword. That is true power. You've learned to hide, to wait, to burn, and to bait. Now you will learn to build the houses in which others live, the emotional scaffolding that holds loyalty, obedience, and fear in place. These are not brute tactics. They are architecture. How to design environments, narratives, and relationships so people move exactly where you need them to. This part is called emotional architecture and strategic distance. Pay attention. What follows will teach you how to become indispensable by shaping desire and erecting boundaries that turn followers into dependents and enemies into tools. People fall for reflections of themselves. To lead someone, first become their mirror. Reflect their fears, their dreams, their frustrations. Let them hear their language in your mouth. Let them see their values in your actions. They will trust the reflection because people trust themselves. But reflection is just the bait. Once they are anchored to you, gently turn the reflection so it points toward your destination. Guide their momentum, not by force, but by subtle redirection. Make them believe the path was theirs all along. Seduction, disguised as empathy, is the most efficient conquest. They follow willingly, and they thank you for the rope you placed around their wrists. Emotion can be a tool when measured, but it must not be the master. Always bury feeling under a strategy that looks rational and inevitable. When you display emotion, do it as performance calibrated to move others, not to reveal yourself. Let your warmth be an instrument and your anger a stage prop. Keep your true calculations hidden in calm delivery. People mistake drama for sincerity. Exploit that blindness, but never let the drama become your decision engine. Your decisions must be defensible, plausible, and framed as necessity. When you cloak your ruthlessness in logic, you neutralize moral outrage. Strategy dressed as reason is unstoppable. Information is a currency more valuable than gold. Where others use force, use ears. Place observers in places where opinions are formed. Make allies into informants by rewarding confessions. Turn every social circle into a map of intentions. Spies do not always wear cloaks. They are friends, lovers, employees, anyone who shares a slice of life. Train your attention to hear what people do not say. Notice the hesitations, the change in tone, the story that repeats itself. Collect these fragments until patterns emerge. And when you act on information that others do not have. The advantage of knowing the room before entering it is decisive. The man with knowledge moves like a ghost through a house of sleeping giants. When rivals fight, be the common ground that benefits from both outcomes. Don't marry a faction. Date them strategically. Support both narratives enough that each side sees value in you, but never so much that either can claim you. Use ambiguity as insurance. This posture creates options. When one side falls, you keep the other. When both sides are tired, you harvest the spoils. Neutrality sells powerably. It makes you valuable to many and beholden to none. The art is balancing without being trapped. Keep your hands clean by letting others soil themselves. You don't need to topple giants with a single blow. You chip them. Whisper doubt, seed a scandal, introduce a tiny mistrust. It accumulates. The powerful crumble not from force but from corrosion. Plant a rumor carefully. Let it spread through trusted channels so it appears organic. Offer small, believable details that only someone close would know. The strong will respond emotionally, defend themselves over and over, and reveal more fissures as they do. A slow erosion is safer and more elegant than a grand assault. While your enemy scrambles to plug leaks, you widen them. Identity is armor if it can be reshaped. Become polymorphic, a patron to some, a critic to others, a distant scholar to a few. When confronted, offer a persona that serves the moment. Consistency is a tool for those who want to be trusted, but trust makes you predictable. Variability is the weapon of the clever. Be a mosaic familiar in pieces, enigmatic in whole. The more faces you can wear convincingly, the harder it is for enemies to build a lasting case against you. Promise a future more intoxicating than any present. People trade reason for hope. Offer them a narrative of belonging, greatness, survival, or redemption, whichever they crave, and they will give you their labor, their loyalty, their silence. The dream need not be true. It only needs to feel necessary. Paint vivid images, the dinner they will host, the title they will hold, the safety they will enjoy. Let their imagination do the rest. The dreamer will defend the dream with zeal, even when the dream is a scaffold you control. To disarm your foe, make him feel seen. Praise the right traits. Inflate a justified superiority, and you will watch the trap unfold. When someone believes you admire them, they drop suspicion. They teach you their secrets, and they move with arrogance. Use flattery as intelligence. Praise publicly. Study privately. Compliment in ways that encourage boasting. Then, harvest the boasts as openings. Egos are doors. Flattery opens them. Your public persona deflects attacks and attracts allies. Fortify it with consistent spectacle, decisive stories, and maintain myths. Let rumors of your ruthlessness be louder than your actions. Let your absence be a story. When your reputation carries weight, challengers think twice. Keep your legend active. Sponsor narratives that cast you in a role beneficial to strategy. The visionary, the indispensable, the merciful tyrant. Reputation is a compound interest. Invest often, withdraw never. Give people prompts that lead them to confess. Ask open-ended questions, nod, and be still. In silence, they tell you everything. People cannot help but fill gaps. You create vacuum. They supply the content. Let others be loud. Their words reveal motivations, alliances, and weaknesses. You remain the quiet conductor, gathering materials while they exhaust themselves with noise. Knowledge gained from others' chatter is free and lethal. You have now learned how to shape desire, harvest information, and build psychological structures that bind people to you. This is strategic architecture, not brute force, but careful design. The person who masters this will have followers who believe they chose their cages. Next, we will move into systemic domination. How to weaponize institutions, erode opposing coalitions, and maintain power when enemies have resources and time. Prepare to think in systems, not moments. Build quietly. Rule patiently. Power is not only won in moments. It is stitched into systems, baked into institutions, and maintained by routines. If you've learned to move people, seduce, sabotage, hide now, you must learn to make structures that keep them moving even when you sleep. This part is about institutions. how to create rules that bind others, how to rewrite norms to your benefit, and how to make your control feel inevitable. We enter systems, institutions, and lasting dominion. If you want to dominate, don't merely break rules, author them. Invent standards that make your actions appear virtuous and make your enemies' actions criminal. Laws shape behavior because people fear consequences more than they fear moral failure. Craft codes that put you at the center. Reward the behaviors that serve you. Punish the ones that don't. But appearances matter. Public obedience legitimizes your new order. Perform compliance, speak the slogans, appear bound by the rules you wrote. This makes dissent look not only wrong, but hypocritical. You will be the judge who enforces the law you authored, and the crowd will thank you for the order you imposed. Systems can be outmaneuvered if you learn the patterns that sustain them. Study institutions like chess openings. Where do decisions cluster? Who profits from chaos? What incentives keep people acting the way they do? Anticipation is structural power. Place your bets on predictable reactions. Engineer incentives that push institutions to act as you intend. Predictability is a machine you can program. Once you understand feedback loops, you can nudge outcomes repeatedly until the system behaves like a puppet. Remember, foresight is not prophecy, it's analysis. Collect data, rumors, records, patterns of appointments. With that, you build scenarios and act before others know there was a game at all. Institutions are run by people who claim loyalty but are motivated by advancement. Value competence over sentiment. Keep those who deliver results, regardless of sentimental ties. Those who cling through thick and thin may be loyal, but loyalty alone doesn't win systemic battles. Form alliances of utility. Reward skill. Punish incompetence. Rotate aides and allies when they cease to be useful. This keeps your institution dynamic and ruthless in service of your goals. Be discreet when you display gratitude. Then, quietly replace. The appearance of loyalty keeps morale. The reality of merit keeps the machine efficient. Institutions are resistant to direct assault. They respond to narratives, incentives, and quiet pressure. Public confrontation creates martyrs. Private pressure changes behavior. Use meetings, memos, subtle promises, and behind-the-scenes corrections to steer bureaucracies. Plant trusted intermediaries inside the machine. Let them coax, advise, and realign actors so decisions shift without spectacle. Influence in whispers. Frame choices as efficiencies, as unavoidable optimizations. People like to think they arrived at the best decision. Let them. Your hand moves the wheel while they believe they're steering. There is power in appearing wronged. Institutions rally to protect the underdog, to correct injustice. Use that instinct. When criticized, adopt the posture of the aggrieved reformer. Highlight grievances, perceived slights, unfair systems, obstacles you overcame, and you will gain sympathy, allies, and cover. While the crowd rallies, you quietly consolidate. Victimhood disarms scrutiny because moral outrage turns outward. Use it to mask consolidation. When people defend you, they rarely ask how your influence grew. Let pity be the front door through which your power enters unnoticed. Scarcity is a policy. Make your presence a privilege. Make access to you a measured reward. In institutions, overexposure democratizes influence. Rarity centralizes it. Disappear from regular channels. Let approval be mediated through a narrow set of gatekeepers you control. Let your calendar be a luxury item. Those who once took you for granted will vie for your attention. Their petitions will be more eager, more revealing, and more valuable. Use absence to create longing. The rarer you are, the more your endorsements become currency. Demand increases value. Value increases obedience. Institutions cling to tradition to entrench a new order, make the old look obsolete. Identify pillars of the previous regime rituals, titles, symbols, and dismantle them slowly with plausible reasons. Efficiency, modernization, Inclusion. When you remove the monuments to the past, you reframe the narrative so your model becomes the default. Replacing tradition is both demolition and construction. Build new rituals that glorify your system. Ceremonies, awards, language. People need rights. If your rituals reward adherence, the new norms calcify into habit. Over time, your system will feel inevitable natural. That inevitability is the final stage of control. Institutional resistance often centers around charismatic figures, a popular director, a vocal critic, a union leader. Remove the head and the body fragments. Do it not always with brute force, but with strategy. Discredit, replace, isolate. Create scandals where none existed, or highlight minor infractions until the moral case against them seems obvious. Use internal rules to justify removal. Offer the flock alternatives, new leaders, new narratives, and they will disperse. Power is easier to dismantle when its points of organization are removed. Be surgical. Target the influencer, not the innocent crowd. When the shepherd is gone, the flock will scatter. And new herders, your appointments will emerge. Make your methods infectious. Train cadres who repeat your vocabulary, enforce your rules, and reward your patterns. Create training manuals, liturgy, and rewards that make your way the only sensible path for career advancement. Institutionalize your strategy through incentives. Promotions for those who act like you. Committees that formalize your approach. Memos that read like doctrine. When routine rewards conform to your model, people will internalize the behavior. They will police themselves in service of your vision. This is how empires stabilize, not by constant oversight, but by cultural adoption. When your strategy becomes the culture, your system will persist, even if you step back. Institutions are not moral theaters. They are arenas of interest. To survive within them, you must sometimes fight on their terms. If competitors use harsh methods, smear campaigns, legal traps, learn to match and then outmaneuver them. But do it with finesse. Escalate only when necessary, and always with plausible deniability. When you mirror their aggression and then exceed it in precision, you teach restraint by example. Enemies learn that attacks on you will not only fail, but will expose them. Mastery in institutions comes from measured escalation force, applied where it counts, never gratuitously. Systems are your long game. They reward architects who think in processes, not moments. Build codes, rewrite norms, seed incentives, and train people to carry your methods forward. When institutions hum with your design, your control becomes resilient, quiet, and hard to uproot. Next and final, Part 6, will bind all these lessons into immortality, maintenance of power, legacy, and becoming formless, so that you endure not only as a ruler, but as an idea people obey without knowing why. Prepare to learn what it takes to never be replaced. You have learned to hide, to bait, to build, and to break. You now hold tools for conquest and the blueprints for empires. But power is not a single victory. It is a long, fragile conversation with time. The final lesson is not louder or sharper than the others. It is quieter, more absolute. How to make your rule last, how to ensure your name endures, and how to become impossible to target. This is the lesson of immortality. This is where rulers become legends. This is how you become formless. Show the world the evolution it craves while keeping your engine intact. Public change is theater. Private constancy is power. Adopt the language of reform. Smile in speeches. Sign declarations that placate critics. Create a visible arc of progress that makes you appear flexible, humane, and modern. Let the press write of your growth. Let donors and rivals believe you have softened. Behind closed doors, maintain the mechanisms that keep you dominant. Your methods remain unchanged. Only the costume alters. This duality protects you. The public believes in your conversion. Opponents never suspect the machinery still humming beneath the stage. The key is plausibility. Your public face must be believable. The performance must be convincing enough to earn trust without releasing the levers you hold. Empires crumble. Dependencies persist. The difference is subtle but decisive. Empires rely on territory and symbols. Dependencies rely on need. Create ecosystems around you. Make people's careers, reputations, and comforts contingent on your favor. Offer institutions incentives that only grant progress if they follow your model. Build networks of suppliers, clients, and protégés who rise by your standard and fall without it. When your role becomes the linchpin of someone's survival, their ambitions bend to yours. Dependencies are stable. They carry you forward in routine decisions, in budget votes, and in whispered recommendations. Designing dependency is the art of removing exit options until leaving is unthinkable. Half measures invite vengeance. Loose ends are seeds for future uprisings. Every conflict you start must be concluded on your terms. Every reform must be enforced. Every rival must be neutralized. Create closure rituals, public trials, enforced retirements, reorganizations that leave no remnant of opposition. Tie up finances, loyalties, and legalities. If you remove an opponent, remove their memory's usefulness, revoke honors, redistribute assets, rewrite institutional histories so they vanish. Finishings convert temporary advantage into permanent safety. When you leave nothing unfinished, you erect a moat around your power deep, wide, and quiet. The future can only be rebuilt if it passes through your checkpoints. Form is a map for hunters. Be the terrain that cannot be mapped. Change names, offices, appearances, alliances. Become a concept rather than a person. Formlessness means you are adaptable to every challenge. If the law changes, you change faster. If a rival adopts your method, you already shifted to the next. The formless shape cannot be cornered because it never occupies the same space twice. Learn the art of plausible transformation. Alter structures, update titles, reassign functions so adversaries cannot trace a trail. Create buffers, proxy leaders, rotating committees, shadow councils so decisions feel dispersed and the finger cannot point at a singular source. When your enemies plan for who you were, surprise them with who you became. Fluidity is survival. Predictability is death. Legacies are built more in the minds of the living than in stone. Manufacture a story that outlives you. Invest in monuments literal and cognitive. Commission books, fund foundations, cultivate historians who will tell your version of events. Control the archives. Promote narratives that justify your actions as necessary and inevitable. Reward storytellers who praise you. Marginalize those who smudge your tale. Institutions endure when their origin story feels sacred. Make your rise readable as destiny. But beware the poison of truth. Absolute transparency can undo myth, hide inconvenient documents, release controlled confessions that redirect shame into heroism. Legacies survive when the truth is parceled into digestible myth, not when it is raw and whole. An empire's lifespan depends on its transfer mechanism. Plan succession like you planned conquest. Name successors who reflect your methods, not necessarily your face. Train them to speak your language, to reward your allies, and to eliminate your enemies. Subtly, legally. Avoid obvious heirs who invite rivals. Prefer structures that diffuse power councils, rotating chairs, meritocratic fronts while planting trusted figures in key posts. Make loyalty pay and make betrayal costly. A smooth succession looks accidental. No violent purges, no dramatic transfers. A practiced succession is invisible because it was inevitable. Restraint is an illusion. Maintain a discipline of selective paranoia. Regularly audit friends. Rotate confidants. Test loyalty with small betrayals that reveal true colors. Keep your circle lean and replaceable. Paranoia is not endless suspicion. It's a set of systems, vetting, compartmentalization, and redundancy. Never allow anyone to hold too much knowledge. Spread responsibilities so no single node can topple you. A ruler's calm must be underpinned by discrete checks. Those checks are the architecture of survival, not cruelty for its own sake, but prudence against entropy. Rely less on personality and more on process. Personal power dies. Institutionalized power lingers. Document methods, formalize procedures, and create rituals that perpetuate your system without you. Teach cadres to replicate your decisions through norms. Publish manuals, design incentives, and codify consequences. When the system prefers your model, people will act in your interests automatically. This is the endgame. Not to be worshipped individually, but to make people behave as if you still sat in the chair. Power should be harvested, not hoarded. Know when your presence is a liability. A graceful exit can preserve legacy where stubborn clinging would destroy it. Plan an exit that transforms you into a symbol. Retire to a role of elder statesman, philanthropic founder, or hidden patron. Make your withdrawal feel like elevation, not defeat. Leaving at the right moment turns you into legend. Staying too long turns legend into ridicule. When you step back, ensure the institutions you founded still speak your lines. Your effective absence should feel like a calibration, not a collapse. You have traveled from shadow to throne. You have learned to hide intentions, shape desires, break rivals, and build systems. The final commandment is this: never become a monument to your own arrogance. Be a rumor, a protocol, a pattern. Power that endures is quiet, routine, and patient. It is institutionalized kindness and mechanical cruelty. It demands sacrifice, calculation, and the willingness to be unforgiving when necessary. Remember what Machiavelli whispered across centuries: victory belongs to the one who understands the rules others ignore. Mastery is not tyranny in a day. It is architecture across lifetimes. Now go. Build your structures. Burn the ladders you climb. Become the form that cannot be drawn. Learn to be untouchable. Then become inevitable.